Ooh. This was not part of the plan. Not for us, anyway. Baby steps. But while I was unbecoming here and beautiful things were unfolding there, I had an idea to put together something for you, Guardians, as a thank you, and an update on where I disappeared to, using whatever animal things I could opportunistically find. Like most of my trip, this video was fully unplanned, so I didn't record everything. This is the side plot. After many hours of fighting hypnic jacks on a plane, I landed. Got to my destination, and it did not take long for something to catch my eye. They're everywhere, and nobody likes them. But to me, someone from the UK, they look like tiny dinosaurs. Australian white ibis are also known as bin chickens here. It's pretty self-explanatory. But to try to overlook their reputation, let's get some facts. Their average lifespan is 28 years. Yeah, some birds do live that long. During courtship, males become loud, aggressive toward other males, and offer twigs to females. Their long, curvy beaks are packed with specialized sensory pits that help them identify food in their traditional wetland habitat, and now in urban areas when they pick through rubbish. That's a really boring explanation of what is a really impressive biological trait, so let me dig into this. Probing is a feeding technique where birds use their beaks to search blindly beneath the Earth's surface for hidden food. Some probe foraging birds, like the ibis, have highly developed sensitivity in their beaks, like a sixth sense. It's called remote touch. The ends of their beaks have an organ called the bill tip, which consists of densely clustered mechanoreceptor cells, tiny nerves embedded within the beak's bones. It can detect small animals moving through the soil or sand by the minute vibrations they make, even at a distance. Just to emphasize how heightened this impressive sense is, their prey are mostly small, slow, and soft-bodied, for example, earthworms and small crabs. When they poke the ground with their beaks, it creates pressure signals in the soil. If there's a hard-shelled animal underground, it disturbs how vibrations and pressure waves move through the earth. The bird senses this subtle disturbance with the receptors in its beak, allowing it to locate and capture its hidden prey. Oof. Imagine reaching into murky water, trying to fish with your hands without relying on sight, sound, smell, or touch. Still only see them as bin chickens? Now, this bill-tip organ isn't exclusive to ibis alone. It's shared in 2 other families of living probe foraging birds, and a structurally similar organ appears more mysteriously in a group called Paleognathae, which includes the kiwi, along with birds that don't use remote touch at all, like ostriches and emus. Weird. Probe foragers have enlarged regions of their brains for processing all the sensory information from their beak, a neural characteristic ostriches and emus lack. So why does this organ persist in all paleognaths, even those that aren't wired for probing? Scientists investigated exactly that. They think it might be an organ with reduced function inherited from their most recent common ancestor, which is cool, because it means this technique is very old. Very old. Let me quickly show you. This is the most recent common ancestor of all living birds. This lineage split into 2 sister superorders before the dinosaur extinction event, Paleognathae and Neognathae. Ibis fall here, along with chickens, vultures, penguins, and over 90% of all living birds. Kiwi, emus, and ostriches, here. One of the earliest branches of Paleognathae is Lithornithidae. Scientists studied their fossils and found a tactile bony bill-tip organ, just like modern-day ibis and kiwi, which they likely used for remote touch. Very old. An ancient technique of finding food by sensing vibrations. This common ancestor likely had this specialized technique too, since it's widely present in both groups. I sat with this for a bit. Ancestral species possess a specialized trait. 2 descendant lineages diverge, inheriting that shared ancestral capability. One lineage takes full advantage of that ability, the other carries the remnants, but no longer depends on it. Nice reminder that progression doesn't happen only by gaining. Even species from the same branch can have different trajectories in their growth and still live. It's the quality that's subjective and human. And that made me think about bipedalism after watching this randomly out of interest. There's kind of parallels of the same evolutionary logic in humans reshaping an ancestral capability for upright walking by coming down from the trees into full-blown bipedalism, while chimpanzees, our sister group, also share this capability, but instead of taking the full-time bipedality route, simply stayed in the trees and became less orthograde over time. Feels like I've sidetracked from our Sydney shenanigans by starting 10 other conversations. Did you know that humans are being studied for this sense of remote touch too? I have to move this conversation to Patreon now. I was thinking about it, but I didn't want to glorify a museum whose ethical history I'm unaware of. Not touching that one. It's gloomy in Sydney. I'm at Centennial Market and I'm trying to get to this place. On my way there, I completely forgot this is home to a huge colony of grey-headed flying foxes. I wanted to save seeing them for when they take off during sunset, but it's okay. I don't have much to say. I stood here for ages. I can enjoy the foxy Cleopatras with you guys now. A tiny fact. You know earlier when I spoke about Ibis creating pressure signals? Bats do something similar but with sound. This is echolocation. It's what Banshee can do in X-Men. They make high-frequency sounds and listen for the echoes that bounce back after hitting objects. From this, they can figure out where an object is, its size and shape, and sometimes what it's made of. So both animals send energy into the environment, which interacts with objects they detect from the returned signals, interpreted by their brains to gather information about their surroundings. Yeah. This kookaburra is looking at us. I was looking at a kookaburra with batsies in the background. Cool. Sorry I didn't get any close-ups of them on my phone. This is how squishy they look. There was a purpose to my visit. I came to find eels and look, I got a turtle, a duck and a carp in one shot. No eels, but I do find them later when I get into Aboriginal dreaming. I finished up here when it started to rain. You know what I love about learning? It's not that the thing changes. It's your eyes that do. This is the part I was most looking forward to. The only thing that I actually did organise beforehand. I am leaving the city for a place that offers way more than my usual hills and sheep. The Blue Mountains. I kept the hikes easy and convenient. Don't want to hear you should have gone to Blackheath. Did I not mention hills and sheep? This was astonishing. Pulled up at Katoomba. It's as edgy as it sounds from, oh my god, I didn't realise I already went to get food. I'm putting you on this French hot bread place because Vietnamese pork crackling roll for under £5. And it tasted good. My only hope was to see a lyrebird. I know. The bar was unrealistically high because they're shy, but so am I, so I thought maybe they'd sense that. The lyrebird is entangled with a legend about the Three Sisters Cliff, which I'm making my way to right now. It begins with a witch doctor and his 3 daughters, Minhi, Wimla and Gunadu. In search for food, he would leave his daughters on a cliff behind a rocky wall every day while he passed a deep, dangerous hole feared by all in the Blue Mountains. For within it lived the bunyip. One day, after her father had descended the cliff steps, Minhi picked up a stone and threw it at a large centipede that startled her. The rolling stone crashed into the valley, stirring the unsettling bunyip. The monster retaliated, and the wall behind the 3 sisters began to split open. Catching wind of what was happening, their father used his magic bone to protect his daughters by turning them into stone, and fleeing from the monster, turned himself into a majestic lyrebird. But in the process, he lost the magic bone. The three sisters stand patiently overlooking the valley, awaiting the day the lyrebird finds the magic bone to reunite their family in their true form. This story is fake, and one sister's missing in my shots. The city of the Blue Mountains is on the traditional lands of the Gundungara and Darug peoples. A respected elder, Auntie Sharon Halls, says the Gundungara people around here always knew what the tourists were told was a made-up story. The legend's still passed around to romanticize the site for tourism, or because people don't know the truth, but it was apparently first made up by a non-Aboriginal schoolgirl called Patricia Stone. I already know what picture I'm going to use here. The fact that I didn't see a lyrebird was fitting. Shy creature, elusive truth. Auntie Sharon thinks it's about time the traditional people of the Blue Mountains take a leading role in tourism here, to get out there and understand their country, to be independent, not reliant. Not misleading you with day 2, still no wildlife, except this lovely parrot. Honestly, this trip was uncharacteristic for me. I treated it as open-ended wandering rather than a holiday, and on this occasion, it was the best thing I did. It's time to head back to the city. Newtown is so cool. It felt homey. But I'm leaving the city again to head here. 2 animals I was aiming to see. Kangaroos, wallabies. I did some quick research and it's doable. It's about timing, where to go, and a little bit of luck. It's a 2.5 kilometer uphill walk to the gardens, lined with charming houses that have letterboxes. So many houses here have letterboxes. This was a cockatoo directly above me. I'm here, and this picnic area is one of the spots the kangaroos hang around at dusk. It's still early, and it's close to a pretty active playground right now. I'll come back later. I'm fueling up properly before I go look for a map. The visitor centre's nearby. Yep, thank you. Shout out my sister. Okay, I'm following this path. The lady at the information desk gave me standoffish advice when I asked her for directions to an area I thought kangaroos and wallabies might be. Can I be honest for a sec? I get it. She's probably had loads of people naively asking where they are like they're just promenading around, and maybe she made an assumption I'd be that annoying invasive tourist. I get it. It was just her tone. Anyway, she told me they'd be far from noise and people and to stick to the path. Life always has these kinds of decisions. Stay left on what's conventionally safe, or turn right and plunge into the unknown. I'm plunging. Things happen rather quickly, and I even have the timestamps for it. These definitely don't belong to a kangaroo, but seeing fresh poozies must be a good sign that animals are nearby. I don't think you can see. Those are kangaroos. I took a few steps, turned my head to the right, and they were there. Look how the foliage shapes to make this stupendous portrait. There were more on the other side, hiding in the shade. Ugh. While we wait for me to come down from my hide, do you know about the kangaroo birthing cycle? It's a whole thing. Firstly, their gestation period, the time from conception to birth, is typically only 30 to 36 days. But the offspring don't just pop out as fully grown joeys. They're born prematurely, without hair and use of their rear legs, and blind. At this stage, they're called pinkies and are roughly around the size of a large grape, and they're not born directly into the pouch. Immediately after the mother gives birth, using all the power in their underdeveloped front limbs, they instinctively crawl out of the vagine, travel through their mother's fur and up into the pouch, where it latches onto the mother's teat and swells in its mouth, holding it in place, which will be its food source for the next 6 to 10 months while it develops in there. Really makes you think. If a barely formed life can pull its way from an opening into an unknown world, climbing against all odds to its sanctuary, we can push through our challenges too, in baby steps, learning to move with our instincts. I'm still blown away by how animals, specifically newborns, have this instinct. No, not diverting. Let me carry on. They also have 3 vaginas, one in the middle for the way out, and one on either side for sperm to travel to their 2 separate uteri. This means they can carry multiple offspring at different stages of development. After the newborn completes their voyage, the mother might become pregnant again, developing another embryo almost immediately. At any time during her fertile period, sperm might fertilize an egg in one of the 2 lateral vaginas, which implants in whichever of the 2 uteruses isn't being used. But there's a problem. Their short pregnancy overlaps with the months the newborn needs to spend in the pouch to keep growing. So female kangaroos can pause their pregnancies in a process called embryonic diapause. Until the optimal conditions are met or the young offspring finally leaves the pouch, that fertilized egg just chills, waiting until it can resume its development, sometimes up to 11 months. So, a female can nurse an older joey that's already left the pouch, carry a younger one still growing inside it, and have another embryo on hold in her uterus. And one more thing, because I'm both unwell and imprinted on this now. Mothers produce 2 different types of breast milk at the same time to meet each offspring's nutritional needs. One teat produces milk for the newborn that's higher in carbohydrates and lower in fat. Another produces milk for the older joey, richer in fat and protein to support muscle growth and higher energy demands. I have so much more to say, but we've really got to get back to our trek, and I haven't sussed out if you enjoy diverted ramblings yet. I cannot believe that happened, or how it happened. I had this whole path to myself with nobody else in sight. I'm such an adventurer. This was something special for me only, and this butterfly that stayed with me leading the way weirdly gave me some comfort. Not in a deep way, but like it was by my side and I wasn't alone. Until a kangaroo comes round and decks me in the face. I heard something. This woman was too stunned to speak. Yep, that is what you think it is. It's an echidna. I'm positively dying of serotonin. I could hear noises from the moment I began the walk, but for some reason I only stopped to look around at that exact moment. It's crazy to think that none of this would have happened if I didn't just turn right. Okay, I need to regroup. Shout out my brother. Ovs, I got a finger puppet from the visitor center. I showed the lady the video, genuinely not from a place of ego. She was so surprised and started asking me questions about how big it was and where it was, and I admitted to not quite following what she said. Then she told me that in all the 10 years that she's worked there, she's only ever seen them twice. Sucker. Okay, going up now. Wait. I remember I got it wrong. The woodland picnic area is where the roos hang. Found you, and I'm going to wrap it up here because the rest of my time was spent aimlessly walking around in the heat. There it is again. Do I zoom? Yes, I zoom. Okay, bye. I'm pooped from reliving these emotions again. We are back in the city, for another round of finding eels, which I believe are here at the main pond. You tease. I was saving seeing you for another day. It's so hard to watch these back. I know what that beak can do.
What's wrong with this eel?
The children found the eels before I could. Wow! So yeah, I had a reason to look for them. It's because of a story my brother told me the last time he was here, which comes from the dreaming.
2 of them!
Push. Let's just begin.
That's what the kid wants!
What is the dreaming? You see it in artworks, carvings, ceremonies, dances, stories, and teachings passed down from elders. It's literally everywhere. And that's what the dreaming is. The cultural system of Aboriginal Australians, the direct descendants of the first humans who entered Australia at least 50,000 years ago, when New Guinea, Tasmania, and many other islands formed a single landmass called Sahul, apparently. Think of it as a tapestry of Aboriginal philosophy and law, meant to connect people with the land, animals, and spiritual ancestors in their ways of living. A sort of user manual for life that explains why certain places are sacred, how bush medicine is used, how people should behave, who belongs to which group and why, who can marry whom, and how to share food and resources. Dreaming and dream time are English terms. Many Aboriginal groups have their own words that carry their own stories, meanings, and laws. It's complex and can only really be understood through the voices of locals, and even then, some dreaming knowledge is protected from the public, and only by committed individuals. It's the concept of every when, where past, present, and future exist simultaneously. Before this video, some of you may have only recognized it as the mark of creation, when ancestral spirits created the world, everything within it, and the rules of life. Nothing is random in the dreaming. Everything has a reason for why it exists, why the stars form their patterns, why the kookaburra laughs, and why the Sydney Harbour was created. I included in the script a reading of a story published by an elder about the Boora Birra. It's a great legend about the consequences of laziness and greed, humans' neglect of honouring the world, and the role of elders passing on important teachings. Their disharmony is cut through by the eel dreaming spirit, causing a storm that forces anew, flooding the flatlands and creating the Sydney Harbour. It's a reminder that humans must continue to respect nature's law, or else. A similar theme of renewal that's come up in many of our ancient stories. I didn't receive a response when I reached out to the respective people, and I didn't want to tell their stories without permission. Even with good intentions to educate you, guardians, there'd be a lack of intent in honouring the people who the story was first told by. I'd be thoughtlessly stealing and contributing to a long history of this in their culture. If you'd like to pause and read the story before I finish up, it's free, and I've added the link in the video's description. If not, you might not understand the rest, but you can keep watching. Do you want to know something cool? Coinciding with this narrative, around 19,000 to 26,000 years ago, during the coldest part of the last ice age known as the last glacial maximum, sea level was about 120 meters lower than today, because so much water was stored in large continental ice sheets. The area that's now Sydney Harbour was dry land, with a river cutting a deep valley through it. By the end of the last ice age, the climate warmed and the ice began to melt, causing sea levels to rise and the ocean to gradually move inland, flooding the river valley and forming the harbour some 9 to 12,000 years ago. Another ancient retelling of a real geological event, is it? I loved this story, and I think it's not too difficult to conceptualize the moral messages of the dreaming. It's also not my place to explain, but hopefully any First Nations viewers watching this will share a few words with us in the comments. But even as non-Indigenous viewers, there's something we can take away here. Just like the parents in this story, we need to preserve memories. I think this is a good note to end on. I kind of enjoyed doing this. I was actually quite apprehensive putting this one out because I was treading slightly on personal But it's a big part of what I plan to do with Guardians, and I want to connect with you, Guardians. So making good, but uncomfy strides. Next time with more planning, places, and people. Now, back to sheep. Bye.